Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCARE for Momentum 2.3. This is the third part in our Momentum 2.0 career training series. I'm Taylor. I'm the Youth Programs Coordinator at SCARE, and thank you for joining us today for this next Momentum. And so if you are new to this series, I really recommend going and watching some of our previous videos. We have a whole series for Momentum 1.0, which also has 4 different parts to it. And then for this one as well, we have 2 previous trainings for Momentum 2.1 and 2.2. And all of these are on our YouTube channel and have some great information for you. Today is Momentum 2.3, and we're going to be focusing around the topic, are you ready for your dream job? And so as I mentioned, this is part 3 in our 4-part quarterly career training series, so you still have more to look forward to. Before we dive into any of that, I do want to go over the definition of momentum again and why we chose this as our overall theme for these career training series. Momentum is movement. Momentum is energy. When movement and energy meet, they become your vision. As you visualize your future, your visions become your first steps. First steps become goals that you create, that you can realistically achieve because you set your pace. You are the momentum for your focus, your passion, your goals for your family. As you create your momentum, you naturally begin to take steps needed to visualize your goals as actions and positive energy for your future. Be kind to yourself. And so we've given a lot of different examples of momentum. And really, the gist of it is that there is an initial piece of energy that you need to get started, and then little tasks along the way after that. And each one kind of has this snowball effect and it builds upon the other. So you finish your first step, and maybe that's getting support from TANF and SCARE to help reach your goals. And that's like that first initial piece of energy. And it's going to keep building on each other. So then once you do that, you kind of get to the next step, and then the next one, and the next one. And that momentum carries you further and further along the way. And so one example I really like to think about is comparing momentum to dominoes, right? So we can think of each domino as like part of our to-do list. So when we're first setting up the dominoes, I mean, it really is like a to-do list. The first one might be, going to SCARE for training. And then our next domino, our next part of our to-do list could be searching online for a job. Another one could be updating the resume. One could be studying for the GED and taking the GED test. And so when we're thinking about dominoes, again, all it takes is that first bit of energy, which can sometimes be the hardest, and pushing that first domino down, and you can see the effect it has on all the other ones. So once you finish your first part and kind of reach that first mini goal, it hits over into the next one, and you're able to keep that energy and reach your next goal, and then the next, and then the next. And eventually you're going to get to the end of the domino line where you hopefully reach your major goal, which could be, finding your dream job, finding some great employment. And all it does is take that little bit of energy sometimes to start with. And I think being a part of Tribal TANF and SCARE is definitely a great first step. So in our Momentum 2.0 series, in December of last year, we started with the topic of keeping it professional. Our previous one in March, we went over personal dynamics. And now we're in June going over, are you ready for your dream job? And then in September, you can look forward to meet the employees. So if you have been with us throughout our series, you might know that last year we had a training that focused on meet the employers. So we had different employers talk about what they look for in candidates, what qualities they look for in people that they're hiring, what's important to them. But just as important, we want to hear from employees to see why someone stays at the job that they're at, what makes it a good job to them. Maybe it's the benefits, maybe it's the workplace environment, and just hearing what keeps people at their jobs. And so just as a quick review also for the other parts of this Momentum 2.0 series, in Momentum 2.1, our overall theme was keeping it professional. So we went over things like inter-office communication, so touched on things like clear communication with coworkers and supervisors, how to have appropriate communication, and how to navigate conflict effectively and in a healthy way. It also went over time management. So how to use time management as a way to ease stress. I mean, I know we're all busy people and it always feels like there's not enough time in the day. So just learning how to use time management to get at least the most important things done and out of the way. And so we went over different techniques to manage time and tasks, how to prioritize tasks and know what's most important to do first, and maybe what can wait a little bit before it gets done. And also how to organize your schedule and your family schedule. You know, sometimes there's a lot of different things going on. So just how to keep track of all of that. In this training, we also went over social media accounts. So one of the big ones was how to protect your social media information. And then also how to adjust your privacy settings, just so other people are not able to view it as easily or they have to be accepted to see your social media. And I think it's important to keep in mind too that in this day and age, social media is really popular. And some organizations and companies might actually be looking for your social media when you're applying. So just knowing that and keeping that in mind. So if needed, changing your things to private on there. But also, we went over how to use social media in your career. So it can also be really beneficial. It can be used to showcase some of your skills and talents, how you're involved in the community. And if an employer is looking for social media or if people see it, you might be able to make connections that way. And it can really also boost your career. And then lastly, in keeping it professional, talked about how to keep learning. And so even if you're finished with something like school or like our traditional definition of learning, we're never really done. We're always going to continue learning. And so maybe you do reach your goal of getting your ideal job. Even then, you're going to continue learning a new position, right? And then maybe at that point too, you can learn what other people around you do and learn all different types of situations. And it really never stops. And there's the different types of learning. There's the traditional kind that we think of with things like school, trainings, certifications, but also we're learning every day. When we have interactions with other people, we are still picking up other bits of knowledge and learning from our surroundings. Next up, we have Momentum 2.2, which focused on personal dynamics. And so some of the things that we touched on in this training was personal dynamics, things like identifying your strengths and what makes you unique from other people, and kind of how to use that to grow your career opportunities, right? And so we talked about how to reflect on some of the traits that make you you. So maybe you do know that you connect really well with people, you have a bubbly personality, maybe you're really creative or you're really organized, and how to use those strengths to kind of align it with your career. So using not only your strengths, but also your interests to find what might fit for a job or how you can better yourself in a job. And then one thing that's really great about this workshop as well is there is a strength exploration exercise. So if you haven't already, you should go back and watch that. And it just asks questions to help you really dive into understanding your own strengths, especially if it's something that you're struggling to go through. So doing that strength exploration exercise. Next up, we went over the career toolbox. And so we went over types of hard skills and soft skills. So for example, some hard skills might be things like if you do have training in a certain subject, so maybe you do have a diploma or a certificate for something, or can show like proof of the skill. In other ways, we have soft skills, which is still just as important as hard skills. So a soft skill might be that you're really flexible with time, right? So maybe you are really flexible with the type of people that you work with. A soft skill could be communication, right? You're really good at communicating with those around you in a professional setting, or communicating with customers. In the career toolbox, we also went over things like professionalism, and the importance of having a positive attitude in the workplace and how to have healthy work habits. We also went over the difference between knowledge versus experience. And so knowledge is great, and that can be compared to when we learn something, let's say in school, right? We learn it from a textbook or a teacher, and we have the knowledge, we hear what needs to be done. But experience is taking that knowledge and what you learned and actually putting it to use in the real world. And so maybe you learned about a certain type of situation and how to deal with, creating an Excel spreadsheet. You saw the teacher go over the steps, but experience would be actually taking all that information and creating your own spreadsheet on a computer, right? Or, maybe you got some knowledge in engineering and construction. And then the experience would be actually putting that to the test and maybe building something. We also went over things like trainability and navigating new workspaces and new work environments. And then lastly, for personal dynamics, we went over what's in your wallet. And so this really focused on types of credit, things like credit scores. We went over the importance and differences of credit cards, interest rates, fees, and credit limits. It can feel like a lot of overwhelming information. And so there's some great information on how to break down and understand what is happening with each of those and what it means. We also went over what makes a good credit score and what makes a bad credit score, the different types of things that affect it. And then also the impact that credit scores can have on personal things like loans, renting, even purchases, what you can purchase, and believe it or not, jobs. In some cases, a credit score can affect the job. And lastly, we went over identity theft, how to stay safe from it, and then what to do if it were to happen and what steps you need to take. But moving on to Momentum 2.3 for today, we have 3 main topics. So we're going over what a dream job means to you, imagining your dream job, and then also seeing if it's a true fit for you, finding something that suits your family and career needs. All right, so what is a dream job? Well, this definition could change for everyone, but it could be something that is tied to your interests and values. Maybe it's something that inspires you. And so it could be thinking about things like maybe it's a certain community that you want to work in. Maybe there are certain things, if you're a creative person, you might want to work in a creative field, right? And so it really just starts with thinking about your different interests and hobbies and skills, and then seeing what's a realistic dream job for you, and something that still makes sense for you. And so let's say you are really creative and you love working with kids and youth. So now if we were to combine those 2 aspects, okay, well, maybe something like an art teacher or having art workshops or an after-school program with kids where you can help them explore their creative side, right? And so it's going to be different for everyone just based off of the different interests and skills that you do have. But you can start to think about some questions, right? Do you enjoy working with kids? Or do you prefer working with adults? Do you like working indoors in an office or outdoors? Do you like working at different locations? There's a lot of different questions to ask just to explore what can affect like what your dream job is and what's realistic for you. Right. So for some people, maybe they like having a flexible schedule and working at different times of day or night, working on weekends and weekdays. For some people, maybe it's more realistic to have a set schedule where it's the same time every single day, Monday through Friday. And so just thinking about all these little things and even just your interests. Do you like being creative? Do you like having more structure? Do you have certain topics that you want to incorporate into your dream job? And using all that just to figure out what that ideal dream job could be for you. And then that is it for my part. I am going to pass it over to my colleagues, but I do want to remind you before, just to complete the survey in the description box below, and then let us know what you'd like to see in our future trainings as well. We really do appreciate the feedback, and we want to make sure that these trainings are important and beneficial for you. So if there are any topics that you enjoyed and you want us to cover more on, please let us know. Or if there's anything else that you can think of that we haven't gone over already, just let us know and we can see if we can get a workshop going for that as well. But now I'm going to pass it over to my colleagues. Thank you all for joining.
Hello, I'm here to talk to you about imagining your dream job. My name is Michelle O'Quinn. For our agenda today, I'll do a brief introduction. I'll speak to you about self-assessment, knowing your strengths, and realistic expectations, and then we'll just have a brief summary. So hello everyone, my name is Michelle O'Quinn. I'm the job developer here at SCARE. Just a little background about myself. I've worked 20 years in a preschool. I was a program director over 3 facilities. I hired over 180 employees. So when I work as a job developer, I'm kind of looking at things from a different perspective because I had to look at the resumes. Now I'm in a position where I have to help make them. So it's quite different, but not so much because I would also create the job postings that we would list on Indeed. So here at SCARE as the job developer, I work to help my participants obtain employment. It doesn't mean that I'm going to go online and tell you to go apply for some job. It means that I will give you the tools that you need to help yourself apply for these jobs. So together, we work on your self-assessment. I'll work with you on your resume, putting it together. When you're applying for certain jobs, especially government jobs, they want you to gear your resume towards that particular job. So sometimes you'll have to change your resume depending on what job you're applying for and where that job is. So like a mom and pop shop, you may not have to change your resume too much, but when you're looking at jobs on governmentjobs.com or even for the County of San Diego, your resume has to match up with the job listing. And it's because it's not a person who's looking at your resume. It's actually a computer program that looks to see if your resume matches the job listing. I help my participants work on their cover letter. I show you where to search for jobs, so like places like Indeed, Glassdoor, governmentjobs.com, the City of San Diego. I also suggest that participants look on Sequan on their website, not necessarily putting Sequan into the search bar on Indeed. If you're looking for hotels, I would say to just create an account with that hotel or create an account with the hospital that you want to work with, and then apply for jobs that way. Also, I help my participants prepare for their job. So we'll edit your email because I've had plenty of participants who had very unprofessional email addresses, and those email addresses then go on their resume, and then their employer is supposed to contact them at that email address. So we'll do like an email edit, also social media edit. I had done a workshop here at SCARE, and I had participants sit around and try to Google themselves. One participant didn't even know that they had a video up on YouTube because it was, I guess, created and posted when they were 16 years old. And so by Googling themselves, they were able to take that post down. Also, I work with job retention, which means I help participants retain their job and keep employment. So we go over things like time management so that they can keep their job. Some soft skills like communication, making sure that you're not gossiping in the workplace, that you follow the work culture there and who you're supposed to talk to if you have any grievances. We go over work ethic and making sure that you're on work on time, that you're completing your work, that you know how to prioritize the things that need to be done. So our training objective, we're going to use tools available that are free online to help you discover your career path that share your interests, enthusiasms, and passion. So like you may have heard that saying that if you do something or have a job doing something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And it's very, very true. If you love what you're doing, you will produce the best. You will love to go to work. You would like to go to work. So that's why it's nice to know what your career passion is and what career path best suits you, as opposed to you trying to fit into a career that is totally opposite of what it is that you want to do. O-Net benefits. So when you log on to the O-Net, and you can Google it, O-Net, my next move, and this little questionnaire comes up. It's an interest profile. So it's about 60 interest questions that you can access. You can even do this on your phone. I've given this O-Net interest profiler questionnaire. I've given it to my kids. They've done it on their phone. I have high schoolers. They've done it on their phone. And then it gives you a clear breakdown of the 6 career interest areas, the education that would be needed for that career path. Also, the O-Net site itself, it just becomes just a rabbit hole of all your interests, because you can just click here and there and you start clicking around and it'll tell you specifically what job you might be good in. It'll break it down to giving you a video on that particular job. It'll tell you how much you could make doing that job, how much schooling you need to take that career path. Also, it breaks down jobs that you may not. So it gives you a list of jobs that you need school for, and then it gives you a list of jobs that you don't need school for. It even breaks it down to what jobs might strike your interest the most, and what jobs might strike your interest the least. It doesn't just give you doesn't just say, oh, well, you'll do good working in a school. No. I mean, there's so many jobs working in a school, so many career paths working with children in a school. So you have, of course, the teacher assistant, you have janitors, you have all the admin that work in the school nurse, school psychologist, you have the security guard, the coach, you have tutors. There's so many hands that work together in order to make a school run. So it's not just, the profile telling you you'll do good in education. Well, what part of that? And so that's what that profiler does. It breaks down what part would you do well in. So on the website, My Next Move, so you can search for keywords. So you can put in there school, education, doctor, building houses, whatever, and then it'll pull up some jobs. Also, you can pull up employment opportunities by industry. And then if you're really not sure what you want to do, you can always click on the button that says, tell us what you like to do. And then that will start the 60 question interest profiler questionnaire. I feel like I said that wrong. So you, you, once you push that start button, then it goes to the page that has the 60 questions, for the interest questionnaire. But if you look at the bottom, this is what your questionnaire looks like when you're done, and it gives you all the results. So at the bottom, it has like a sun, and so that's your bright outlook. And then like it'll have like job prep, and it has like the cap. So that means that you'll probably need like a little bit of schooling in order to obtain that job or to take that career path. So when it breaks down the your interest, so like it'll say, oh, well, you're a realistic person. So realistic individuals are active and stable, and they enjoy hands-on or manual activities such as building, mechanics, machinery, operations, and athletics. They prefer to work with things rather than ideas and people. Then you have investigative. An investigative personality type tends to be analytical, intellectual, and scholarly. They enjoy research, mathematical or scientific activities. These individuals live in their minds and prefer to deal with the real world from a distance. They like to read, study, and use books and other data instead of working hands-on. So they're like totally opposite from the realistic person. And these individuals are unconventional and independent thinkers who are curious and very insightful. Then you have social individuals who are social personality types, are dedicated leaders, humanistic, responsible, and supportive. They use feelings, words, and ideas to work with people rather than physical activity to do, and they enjoy closeness, sharing, groups, unstructured activities, and being in charge. And usually those people are in management. They're in management, social work, things of that type. Because like even as you are reading, what these people, how their characteristics are, you can kind of get an idea of what kind of jobs these people have. Next, we have artistic. An artistic personality type uses their hands and minds to create things. They appreciate beauty, unstructured activities, and variety. They enjoy interesting and unusual people, sights, textures, and sounds. These individuals prefer to work unstructured situations and use their creativity and imagination. And this so much describes my friends. They're dance instructors, and they make their own schedule, and they totally think out of the box. Yeah, and let's see, the next one is enterprising. That these individuals like to work with people, influence, persuade, lead, and manage for organizational goals or economic gain. An enterprising personality type is often a leader who is talented at organizing, persuading, and managing. They enjoy money, power, status, and being in charge. A conventional personality type likes to work with data, numbers, and carry out tasks in detail and follow through on instructions of others. They're quiet, careful, responsible, well-organized, and task-oriented. These individuals use their minds, eyes, and hands to carry out tasks. So when you finish your profiler, it'll give you numbers as to what your interest mostly is. So these will be the 6 areas, and it'll tell you like, oh, you're mostly artistic, and then it'll give you a list of jobs in that area, and then it'll tell you whether or not that particular career needs any education in order for you to move forward, or they'll even tell you like how much they get paid in your area, things like that. So when we're looking at things like no formal education, we're looking at roofers, cashiers, caregivers, stucco masons. Those are just examples. Of course, this is not the whole gambit of all the careers that are offered for people that do not have any formal education. Roofers can make up to $29 an hour. Cashiers can, they'll usually start at minimum wage and then move up according to the store, and if they have COLAs, which is your cost of living allowance. And then you have caregivers. Usually they start at minimum wage. However, I know caregivers who try to specialize in things that they get paid, they get paid more. So like, let's say that you're a caregiver, but you specialize in diabetic diet, diabetic food prep, or you specialize in senior yoga, or, just something like that, just kind of adding a little pizzazz to your caregiving, then usually you can get paid a little bit more, than other caregivers because of that certification. Also, you have stucco masons. I actually talked to a company, and he was saying that like at their company, they actually train their stucco masons. So it's kind of like on the job training. They have like apprenticeship programs where you don't need a GED or a diploma in order to advance with that company. So again, they get paid up to $35 an hour. I don't know where they start, but that's what I was told, that they can get paid to $35 an hour. And then you have some employment where you would need some education. So under high school diploma, you have loan clerks, repair workers, and first line preparers. So I know someone who actually works in a hotel. They get paid $24 an hour, and they're a first line food prep. So basically all they do is prepare the food for the cooks or the chefs to cook in the hotel, and they get paid $24 an hour. Some college, but no degree, a teacher's assistant, bookkeeping, and computer support. Also, I know that in preschool, like for a teacher assistant, all you need is basically 6 units of child development, which is basically 2 classes in child development, and you can be a teacher assistant in a preschool. And the school district, I'm really not sure how many classes you need, but you can always look on teacher credentialing website, just Google it. And then you have your post-secondary non-degree certification. So that's medical assistant, auto service tech, and massage therapist. And massage therapist is another job where you can make your own schedule and kind of work on your own hours. And then you might want to look into getting professional certificates or certification, depending on where you work. If you obtain a certificate or some sort of certification, you can get higher pay. You have advancement opportunities. Well, you're open to advancement opportunities. You have a competitive edge, and then depending on where you work, you could get tuition reimbursement. So depending on where you work and what company you work for, they usually tell you about different certifications that you can obtain in order to get higher pay or to advance to the next level. Instead of staying at like an entry level, they give you basically a roadmap to get paid higher or to move higher in position. All right. Well, thank you for listening, and reach out to me if you have any questions. My name is Michelle O'Quinn. I can be reached at michelle@scareinc.org. Have a great day.
Hello, my name is Heidi Beckenbach McGann, and I'm part of the counseling department here at SCARE. I've actually been working here for over 11 years. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the idea about tips around cultivating a healthy work life balance. And the first thing is I want to be kind of transparent about that. I mean, I'm a mom of two kids, working, all those sorts of things. I think we have kind of this idea of full on balance when it comes to work and home life. And it's actually pretty hard to attain all of those things when you have so many different needs and so many different directions. When you're trying to take care of your kids, when you're trying to pick up with them, run around, when you're trying to, really work hard at your job and move up in the different areas. So I think it's just something to be mindful of, and knowing that there is no perfect balance, but it's important for us to kind of check in where we're at each moment, just so that we maintain some sort of harmony when we're trying to develop. I think I like the word flow a little bit more when it's trying to be a parent, a caretaker, a partner, and then also trying to be an employee and what that looks like, and someone who is driven in their career. So with that being said, I am going to provide some tips on how we can improve our work-life balance, in hopes that that will give some sort of, peace around some of these areas. The first tip that I have is around boundary setting, and that's learning to say no. I think a lot of the times we have a hard time when we're working in putting boundaries around what we're able to do and what we're not able to do. We don't always have to take on everything. Obviously, it's important for us to provide services that our job entails, but there's certain points where it's okay for us to say no around things in order really to kind of keep that balance. And just, saying no to things that are less of a priority, and really maybe letting your boss know what the priorities are, making sure to get those things accomplished. And then by saying no, that allowing you to have more of that time and energy to focus in on what's most important. Then the next tip I have is about taking breaks. I think a lot of us who are really hard workers have a hard time taking the structured breaks that are given to us, and really utilizing those breaks to break away from what it is we're working on and what it is we're doing in any actually aspect of our life, not just work. It's important for us to take breaks in order to recharge, so that we're able to come back and work harder. Even just like a 30-second micro break can help improve concentration, reduce stress. It keeps us feeling engaged in the process of doing things. A lot of the times when we're trying to concentrate on stuff, it's important for us to look into new or more exciting things, and a breakaway can allow that to kind of reinvigorate our energy in order to get something done. It also helps around enjoyment. If we're constantly go, 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 and we don't take breaks, that's leaving us to kind of burn out a little bit easier. So just be mindful. It doesn't have to be a huge long break. Some of our jobs don't allow for that, but even like a 30-second putting something down and then coming back to it can be really helpful in just our energy, concentration, and an ability to focus. With that being said, not just our small breaks, but it's important for us to really take our other allotted breaks. So that comes to taking our lunch break. How are we utilizing our lunch break? Some people are, eating their lunch while they're on the computer or still doing their work. It's really important for us to just put everything away and to be still and enjoy our lunch, enjoy nourishing our bodies, taking that time for ourselves, taking that time to do something else that is not that. When we talk about health and the importance of health and eating and everything else, it means that we really want to honor where we're at and kind of take a time to eat mindfully. And if you're able to eat and then also utilize some of that time to do something that you enjoy or something that helps you reduce stress, whether or not that's a 5-minute meditation or a little option to go outside. I always recommend going outside during your lunch break if you can, just to get some fresh air, some sunshine. All of those things are really known to help ground and center. And it just gives like a new perspective, especially if you're in an office where there aren't any windows or there aren't any options for that. It's great to just go outside if you can have your lunch out there, get some nice fresh breaths, and just kind of relax and slow things down for a minute can really be helpful in recharging. Even if you can do like a walk around your building or wherever you are, taking some time for yourself in a really mindful relaxation kind of way can be really helpful in just for a nice and more pleasant day. I mean, I think when we think about it, if we're go, 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 go at work and we're not taking time for ourselves, it's really going to be leading to some burnout and feeling really, really tired. So I think it's important to utilize those lunch breaks in the best ways possible. And for some of us, that's going to mean meditation. For some of us, that might mean calling a friend. For some of us, that might mean playing a game on your phone, whatever it means for you, just to like take that time to decompress. Just think about it and how you can best utilize your time, but making sure to prioritize that, making sure to prioritize putting the work away so that you can focus in on yourself during those meal times. Also, if it's possible at your job, having some conversations around flexibility, you know, if there's different ways that you can be flexible in your work, in your schedule, just to be able to maybe one day you come in early so that you can leave early to pick up your kids. But having those conversations ahead of time with your employer so that you can make things work better for you and also for them. A lot of the times when we know that we can have some flexibility in our jobs, we tend to work a little bit harder because it works for our balance of our home life and our work life. So having some of those conversations with your employers about some of this flexibility can be really helpful in just maintaining a happier work-life balance. Next tip is to prioritize your health. I think a lot of the times when we're so busy, health is one of the first things that goes. We're not taking care of ourselves in the ways that we need to. And when that happens, we're exhausted. We don't feel good. And that really is of a detriment, not only to what we're doing at work, but also how we're performing it. So it's important to recognize how to maintain physical health, emotional well-being, and also mental health, and making that one of the bigger priorities of your life. And it's interesting when we focus in on some of our self-care and prioritizing ourselves, that oftentimes leads to better performance, better ability to get work done. So by us prioritizing ourselves in turn, that makes us better parents, better employees, better partners. So if there's different ways that you can engage in prioritizing your physical, emotional, and mental health, that's going to be of benefit to all different areas of your life and the ways that you perform. So if you can sneak in a daily meditation. And when I talk to people about meditation, some people, it's that classic close your eyes and deep breathing meditation. That works for some people, but we all can meditate in different ways. So for some people, meditation might be in taking a walk. Some people can meditate in just going somewhere and nature and taking in all the beauty that surrounds you. You can meditate in art, you can meditate in music. So it's really taking that time and space for yourself to just relax and take everything in. So when I talk about meditation, I think it's a lot of a broader sense of slowing things down. and using our senses to be in the moment. Also, another really helpful thing around our health is movement and exercise. I think some of us get worried when it comes to that. We think exercise needs to be this really big, long thing that we do. We're going to the gym forever, or we have to go and start running. I mean, they say just like a small walk around can help enhance health, focus, energy, sleep, in many different ways. So prioritizing movement in whatever way works for you. We're not going to do stuff that we don't like. So finding the ways that you want to move your body in ways that you like, whether or not that's turning on some music and dancing, or going for a walk in your favorite park, or finding a workout video online. They've got plenty for 10 minutes that are free on YouTube. Just figuring out what works best for you. And sometimes, I mean, as parents, that means us going to the playground with our kids and engaging and play with them can be a great way to connect not only with your family, but also with your body, and also teaching your kids how movement and exercise can be incorporated within your life in a really healthy and beautiful way. Another way to prioritize your health is around social connection. We need each other. It's helpful to have support and community and care and love and connection with fellow human beings. So it's finding those people in your life who support and cheerlead and help bring joy and meaning. I think, it's always great if we know who to call after, if that's to decompress from the day, or the person who's going to make us laugh, but we really need that as human beings. That's what we're wired for. And the more healthy connection we have, the better we feel. Also, another thing that can be helpful in this is a gratitude practice. So that's just a way of reminding ourselves what we're thankful for and what the things are in our lives that we're grateful for, that they're in existence, whether or not that is our health, or our bodies, or our jobs, or our kids, or our connections. It's really taking time and space to honor those areas of our lives, so that and a gratitude practice is really helpful in the way of shifting our lenses on how we're looking at the world. We talk about, are you a glass half full or half empty type of person? And it really changes the way that we look at the world when we come from spaces of gratitude and spaces of thankfulness, in different ways. So trying to highlight those more joyful, beautiful spots in our lives that we can really, really honor and magnify. And then two, a lot of the parts around our health and well-being is honoring our time off, and committing to using the time off that we have. I think we come from a culture and a space where it's like productivity, productivity, productivity. If you're not moving, you're dead. And it's like a lot of that is very, very unhealthy programming that we've all received. So I think it's really important that we take the time off that we're given, honor ourselves. Rest should be a part of our lives. Joy, connection, family time, really being mindful about creating opportunities for that, different adventures that we do, different activities, attending events, whatever that means for you, but really honoring your time off in a way that's going to be fulfilling and meaningful for you, and whatever that may be. And sometimes that's just relaxing on the couch, and that's important. Rest is just as important as doing. So making sure that for your health, that you're prioritizing all of those different things. Another big tip for more of that work life flow is practicing some self-compassion. I think not only do we have like programming around productivity, but we also have this programming around perfectionism and doing everything right. And sometimes that can cause even more stress than it needs to. We all make mistakes. We all are human. So really having some more compassion on how we perform is going to be helpful in the ways that you're approaching things and also the ways that you're following through with stuff. So I think it's also important for your coworkers too, right? If we're being more compassionate with ourselves, we're also then being more compassionate with those that we work with. We understand that not everybody is going to have, be having the greatest day. And sometimes somebody might make a mistake, and we can understand that. We can understand that we ourselves are going to make mistakes too, and that's okay. So those are some pretty open tips for just like how to create it more at work. But not only do you want to focus in on the work aspect, but you also want to create that home aspect as well, and making sure that you're prioritizing different boundaries and different things while you're at home as well. So what I'm talking about here is, really being off of work when you're off of work. And I think that's hard for a lot of us, especially like with COVID and with us, a lot of the different things, a lot of the work from home stuff, we've had a tendency to bring a lot of that home with us. And so it's important for us to then really communicate our boundaries so that we can truly unplug. And whether or not that means like silencing your notifications of your work emails or being really firm about not answering phone calls after work hours, whatever that looks like for you, so that you can really be present and connected within your family during your time off, is going to be of the utmost importance. Because you can't be expected to be on all the time for work. That's not fair. That's not appropriate. And I think, we had a lot of blurred lines with work from home, with other things. So how can we remove some of these pressures around, checking our email, checking our alerts, responding all the time? Like when you're off, making sure that you're really off and developing ways to do that. Sometimes that's not having your work email on your phone, or being able to silence the notifications, or letting everybody in your staff know that you will not be receiving phone calls when you're on vacation, putting away messages of you being gone so that people know you're out of the office and will not be receiving or responding right away. At home too, it's important to really invest in our relationships that nourish us, right? Who are the people in our lives that spark our joy, that we connect with? It's important that we keep these connections, like I brought up earlier, that these are the sorts of things that are increase our health and they improve our longevity in life. So, the more strong relationships you have, actually people live longer by having those strong relationships. There's different things that come into play there. So it's important that we honor and nurture these relationships that we have when we're connected, and making sure that when we are with our families, with our friends, with the people that we love, that we're really there with them. I think that comes back to really being present. And I think we all know when somebody is either checked out or distracted, and how that doesn't feel as genuine or authentic in the ways that we connect with another. So just as much as we want that from somebody else, how do we cultivate that in ourselves so that we're really connecting and creating these opportunities for real, authentic community? So I mean, that's just something to be mindful about when we're setting those boundaries with our work. Also, making space and time in our schedules for the certain things that are really important for us. And a lot of that can be around family time. How are we scheduling that in, whether or not it's like Friday night dinner and movie night with your family, or, Sunday, make sure that you all go to the park together, just being very intentional about your time and your space with your loved ones. And I think unfortunately we get so busy with all the different things that we have to do that sometimes it's important like to even schedule it in. Like our family nights are every Tuesday night, we're going to watch the show together and have dinner. We're going to check in with each other, just making sure that you're taking that time apart to really be with your family and loved ones. And even with that, like, how are we prioritizing quality time, right? We want to make sure that what we're doing is enhancing ourselves, our relationships, our health. And with that, that's going to be quality. You can see somebody all the time, but are you really engaging with them in the way that's going to be impactful, not only for you, but for other people? And, when I started off kind of talking about these tips and all these different things, I want to normalize the fact that like none of this is super easy. It actually takes a lot of work. And there's certain times that our work-life balance is going to be completely off, and it's just really about taking like small steps to making these bigger changes so that you can feel more comfortable and more of that flow within your life. You know, Small eating habit shifts can go a long way. Trying to prioritize sleep, whether or not that's a half hour of a difference that you go to bed early, whether or not that means making a small nutritional change. Small steps go a long, long ways. So thinking about yourself and what that means, does that mean like a 5-minute walk after work and make a huge difference in mood improvement and then also physical well-being? So I think a lot of the times when we're thinking about stuff, it can almost feel overwhelming with what we think needs to change. But in reality, it's like these tiny little habits. Sometimes it's making our bed in the morning so that we have somewhere, so that one small habit that's already starting the day to get things done, and also a really nice way to come back in and go to sleep in a made bed. Little things like that, these little tiny shifts and changes can create huge, impactful differences. And then also, our culture, or where we're at, work, life, family, career, friendships, partnerships, all these sorts of things. We're busy. We've got a lot going on. It's not always easy. And it's important to realize like when we need to ask for help. And that goes both within our place of employment and then also at home. So really, a lot of the times I think I'm working with people and everything else, there's that guilt around, oh, I don't want to burden anyone. I don't want to bother people for asking for help. But most of us have needed help at some point, and we appreciate when other people show up for us and vice versa. I think a lot of us love helping the people that we care about. And obviously, we do that with like boundaries and everything things. We help when we can, but it's okay to ask for help. And it's really important to ask for help and support when we need it, and whether or not that's in our jobs or even at home. But it can be great to ask for help, to receive it, and then also help us to move through whatever is going on in our lives. And, I just think it's really helpful for us to know that this is something that can be prioritized, can be something that we continually check in on. Like, where am I at right now in my work-life balance? Where am I at in this flow between family life, home life, work life? How do I want that to look for me? How can I be nourished and in harmony with all these different aspects? And like I said, sometimes it's gonna go one way or the other, but I think it's important to take a step back, realize where you are and realize where you would like to be, or where times it has worked out better before, and just kind of evaluate some of those things. And what I always notice is the first thing that goes when we're stressed out are the things that are the best for our self-care and the best for our coping. So, where are you at with your sleep? Where are you at with your eating? Where are you at with your movement? Where are you at with your connections with your family and your friends? Those are the biggies in our mental, emotional, um, and physical health. So if we can even make small changes in those areas, it has a tendency to go a long way in how we flow within our lives. So I hope that some of these tips were helpful for you. And, one of them were to be compassionate with ourselves and just compassionate with wherever we are on this journey. So just reflecting on that, just honoring where you are and thinking about what maybe small steps you might take to help with a little more flow and balance for yourself. Thank you.